Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/coworker stories for you all. As per usual, reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hey, super quickly here, GamerSupps is once again doing Christmas in July, starting July 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to get a free gift with purchase with every tub you buy, then take advantage of this by using code Oz at checkout. Every purchase made does directly support the channel, and gets us closer to a shaker cup. Let's get back to it. Well, Ford Karsten. Coworker got into essential oils and now it's affecting the whole office. So this woman on my team got really into essential oils a few months ago. At first, it was harmless. She'd roll some on her wrists or temples and no one said anything. A few of us even joked about how nice it smelled, kind of walking into a spa. Then she brought in a small USB diffuser. She set it up on her desk and it started pumping out lavender or peppermint or whatever she was in the mood for that day. It wasn't overpowering at first, but then the blends got stronger. Some days it honestly makes the whole corner of the office smell like some kind of hippie apothecary. The kicker is, she never really asked if it was okay. It just became part of the space. A couple of coworkers have quietly moved to different desks. One guy said it was giving him a headache. Another mentioned that her eucalyptus mix made his asthma flare up. She kind of brushed it off when it came up, saying everything she uses is pure and natural, so it couldn't possibly cause irritation. That rubbed a few people the wrong way. She's also started suggesting oils for people's problems. Like if you say you're tired, she'll pull out some citrus blend and tell you to inhale deeply. One time someone mentioned they were feeling anxious and she basically said they should stop taking meds and try frankincense instead. That one got a few awkward looks. Nobody really wants to escalate it because the trouble's just not worth it. HR here is slow, and management avoids anything that feels like personal drama, and most people just shrug and deal with it. But at what point is it okay to ask someone to stop doing something because it's natural? Does being well-intentioned excuse disrupting the shared workspace? Do you know what else is natural? Poison ivy, toxic mushrooms, flesh-eating bacteria. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's inherently good for you. And the thing is, if it's already reached a point where people are getting headaches, people's asthma are flaring up, and you're actually having health risks because of the essential oils, the moment to take action has already crossed because she's actively affecting the health of your coworkers. That's the point where you should step in. Tell her to either knock it the fuck off because she's actively harming the lives of the coworkers around her, or you're going to report her to HR for making an unsafe work environment. And if HR does nothing, then potentially look at getting legal involved. Asthma isn't a joke, and if you had a coworker with a peanut butter allergy and she was just running around spreading peanut butter on things because it's natural, I'm pretty sure you would put a stop at it. She's already irritating someone's asthma. How long until she uses some kind of essential oil that someone just happens to be allergic to? And now they require an EpiPen and a trip to the ER. If HR is so slow to the point where you're hesitating even reaching out, then it's all the more reason to file a report as soon as possible, and just get it on paper in case something happens. PKB pitch. My coworker said, "You're too direct," after I told her I didn't want her leftovers. I'm honestly still trying to figure out what part of this interaction was weird because something about it made me question my entire communication style. So yesterday, I'm sitting at my desk vibing with my tuna poke bowl, headphones in, completely minding my own business. Enter coworker Brittany, the kind of girl who says, "I'm just like a boy's girl," and thinks horoscopes are evil. Holding a half-eaten tray of what looked like undercooked lasagna. She goes, "Hey, I couldn't finish this. Do you want it?" I politely smile, remove my AirPods and say, "Oh, no thanks, I'm good." And she goes, "Wow, okay. You're kind of direct, huh?" Like, ma'am, what? Like, I'm supposed to wrap my rejection of your room temp carbs in a poem and a hug? Should I have said, "Oh my gosh, I would love to take your lukewarm leftovers, but I just had dental surgery," or "Actually, I'm fasting for a TikTok cleanse"? Why is "no thanks" suddenly aggressive? And for the record, her lasagna was in a tinfoil tray covered in a paper towel. It had been out of the fridge since 11 a.m. It is not bold of me to say no. That is survival. Now, the vibe in the office is weird. She made a passive comment in the kitchen like, "Some people are just really blunt, I guess," while making eye contact with me. I didn't know rejecting questionable food made me emotionally unavailable. Do I owe her an apology or a cookbook? This is definitely not an OP problem. This is just a coworker problem. Like, honestly, some people are just like this, and there's not really much you can do except for wait for them to understand that, saying "no thanks, I'm good" is a perfectly reasonable and acceptable societal response to being offered leftovers from your home. Like, if that's their reaction to a simple and honestly fairly polite turndown of leftovers, then they must have a very complicated life navigating everyone's reactions and responses to things. Like, I don't know how they're expecting to be treated in this, office environment. I would say just ignore it and let it be, unless, of course, they start making it a problem. Then just inform people, "Yeah, I just told her I didn't want her leftovers from home." Personal average 428. My ex-boss finally got fired along with our ex-HR. My ex-boss was a very manipulative guy who would scheme with HR to get loyalty. He would love bomb his staff, including me, with compliments, making us feel deeply valued. But after about 2 years of working with him, I realized it was his way of using me against others. He would yell at us in front of others, get really petty with his complaints, and even demand that an Excel file should be opened in a specific tab. And there were only 2 frickin' tabs. When I sent the file to him, how hard is it to click the next tab? He was also a micromanager who kept demanding us to please call him so he can give us instructions for our tasks. This was annoying because he could simply email us, and it would be easier to remember things through email rather than notes taken after a call. Since he was close with the HR manager, he made sure everyone knew it and intimidated us. I think the one that angers me the most was telling me I could not survive the job without him, and it would be difficult for me to find another job. When I brought this up to the HR manager, she simply said, "Well, that's his character." Sorry, but that's his lack of character. What he didn't know was that all those years I kept all our communications. An example, emails, call logs, text messages, notes. I also took photos of these notes just in case. Some of the text messages show him gaslighting me, and unfortunately for him, I found a better job, so I was able to resign early this year. Last month, he was up for promotion. I have former colleagues who still share their stories and updates. I was fortunate enough to set a private meeting outside of my former office with our SVP. So, I spilled everything and showed the receipts, including HR's reluctance to do anything about it. To cut the long story short, he wasn't promoted. In fact, he and HR got fired. All my former colleagues who had complaints about him also helped by providing their testimonies and experiences. I thought they wouldn't pull through, but the work environment was apparently even more toxic, given he was readying himself for the position. Glad people like him can still be held accountable, and I hope if you're going through something like this, keep the receipts, especially if you're resigning. I mean, I say it quite a bit on this channel, but it's hit a point where it's almost hit meme material, where keep a paper trail. In any situation where you feel like something's off, don't hesitate to keep a paper trail, because it's for your safety. It makes sure that you're going to be A-okay if shit hits the fan. Whether it's to vindicate yourself or to protect others from abuse, a paper trail is a wonderful thing to have. This story also just serves as a reminder that don't forget, HR isn't there for you, it's there for your company so they don't get sued. And if HR is in a position of power or corruption, they're not going to do shit to help you. They're going to do anything they can to maintain the status quo 90% of the time, unless a lawsuit's on the table. OMG gal out. Coworker and I live in the same apartment complex. She's been approaching me at home for a ride to work, unplanned and uninvited. My coworker just moved into the same apartment complex where I live in. She lives quite a ways away, but still in a walking distance from me. Last week, Thursday, I was walking to my vehicle and I hear my name being screamed many times through the air. It was my coworker from her balcony. She was yelling something else that I couldn't quite hear, but I was leaving for work and didn't have time to stop by. She was needing a ride to work. That Friday, she was screaming my name as she's walking towards me from her apartment building, yelling that she needed a ride to work. I told her that I could bring her, but I couldn't bring her home, and I won't be able to bring her this week. Honestly, I'm not comfortable at all with her just showing up to my vehicle and expecting a ride, nor screaming my name from afar. It's not a proper way to act. She was getting a ride from a coworker, but they got into a tiff. Her supervisor has offered to pick her up before. I've been thinking today that this is going to happen again tomorrow. And I'm sorry to say, but even if I'm headed straight to work, I won't be giving her a ride. I'm a loner, and I like being by myself on the ride to and from work. I'm just thankful I don't park anywhere near my building because I could see her just showing up unannounced and screaming my name until she found my apartment. It's just weird to me. We're not at work. This is where I live, and I would like my personal space to be respected. We will see how this week goes. Comment from user FlixTerra. You need to be direct about this. People are so afraid to speak up and say no, instead being passive-aggressive and tiptoeing around issues. Now, you don't mention whether or not you two work within the same department, or how turning her down may impact the workplace. Honestly, it shouldn't matter. You need to say that you're not going to give her rides to and from work. If she pushes, wants a reason, tell her what I tell my 5-year-old. Because I said no. Then walk away. Is it awkward and uncomfortable to be direct? Yes. Is it better than inevitably feeling like a hostage in your own apartment complex? Fuck yeah, it is. Being direct is 100% the correct option here, but if OP cannot be direct due to anxiety or other issues, or as an example, they work in the same department and this might just make work hell, just start fucking your schedule around. Wake up and leave 10 minutes earlier. Add getting a coffee to your morning routine. Do something to make your leaving times and arrival times so inconsistent it's not worth your coworker to even try to ask you for a ride. That is a passive-aggressive option, yes, but it does limit communication and makes it very clear that your schedules are just incompatible. But before you even attempt this, try to be direct first, because this is just not a way to live your life. Dead Guy 4. Coworker kept opening everyone's packages like she was doing unboxings. I'm working at a company where a receptionist, let's call her A, has developed a strange habit of opening only personal packages that get delivered to the office. Not office supplies, not team-related deliveries, just people's private orders. Since she sits right at the front and receives all the mail first, she's taken it upon herself to treat every package like it's her business. The role of a receptionist is pretty straightforward. Answer calls, greet guests, manage schedules, receive deliveries, and inform people when their package arrives. That's it. Nowhere does it say she needs to open anything, especially items clearly marked with someone's name. But A constantly opens boxes, looks through the contents, then hands them over like she's doing you a favor, always with a cheerful, "Your parcel arrived," smiley face. As if the tape wasn't already torn and the box half opened. She's gone through skincare, snacks, clothing, protein powders, even a coworker's undergarments. One time she opened a package of vitamins and shook the bottle like she was inspecting it. When asked why, she always says things like, "I was just checking what's inside of it," or "It's for clearance," which doesn't even make sense. We're not a logistics company. We don't have any policy requiring personal items to be checked. People have told her directly to stop, but she brushes it off every time. Eventually, someone reported her to HR. Ever since then, she's been giving people the cold shoulder, avoiding conversations, and making side comments like, "People these days get upset over the smallest things." But this isn't about overreacting, it's about respecting boundaries. Her job is to notify us when a package arrives, not open it, inspect it, or comment on it. I really hope HR puts a policy in writing because this went way past what a receptionist is supposed to be doing. Definitely happy HR stepped in and did their job for this one, because that behavior is just nosy and unacceptable, and it's just like, what are you doing? Why? You don't need to go through people's packages. You're not some kind of like customs agent who has to make sure no contraband's getting through, which is why I imagine that she shook the vitamins as a "it's for clearance" excuse. I'd be really curious to find out what exactly made it get into her head that this was okay. And I guarantee this is the kind of person that if you ask them, like, "How would you feel if someone went through your packages?" "Oh, well, I wouldn't mind it." It's like, yeah, but I do. Like, stop doing that. And I also gotta love the fact that she's making it everyone else's problem that she got busted for an invasion of privacy on every coworker in the office. Hetalia. There's a guy at my office who barely does anything but somehow looks busy all the time. And I think I'm the only one who sees it. There's this guy at work who, as far as I can tell, does the absolute bare minimum every day. Shows up late, barely responds to emails, vanishes for long periods, and just floats through the day like nothing's wrong. The weird part is, no one else seems to notice. Or if they do, they're not saying anything. He's always got a coffee in his hand and something open on his screen. So I guess he looks busy. But half the time, I'm pretty sure he's watching videos or reading news. Meanwhile, here I am, stressed out, trying to stay on top of things because if I don't, my boss would be all over me. I don't want to be the person who complains, especially because he's actually really easy to talk to and helpful when you need something. But it's starting to mess with me a little. Like, am I just imagining this? Or has he somehow mastered the art of doing just enough to not get noticed while the rest of us are picking up the slack? I honestly can't tell if I should be annoyed or impressed. Probably both. User 40 gallons of PCP comments. Sounds like this guy has mastered a salary job. Do what you have to do and look busy the rest of the time. OP responds, it's like he unlocks some secret level of office life. I guess part of me admires how chill he is, even if it throws me off now and then. User Heaven's Word X responds, it's not hard to unlock, to be honest. There's a lot of ways to unlock it, but highly based on each circumstance, and it may come with consequences if not done properly. Some general categories are simply acknowledging that work doesn't need to be perfect. Some people spend 20% of the time doing 80% of the work and makes it good enough for use. Others stress over spending the 80% of the time needed to get that remaining 20% for a perfect deliverable. Not attracting workload. If you followed the above principle, don't go about looking free and advertising to everyone that you're done. If your boss thinks your work is going to take a week to do and you're done in a day, sit on it and let it marinate. Hand it up on the 4th day with a, hey, good news, I got it done earlier than scheduled. Some bosses hand out a ton of work, but not everything needs to be done. Figure out what are high priority tasks and which are those that doesn't need to be done. Work smart around this, because it can backfire if what you thought was unnecessary turns out to be necessary. Also, another way to deal with this is simply just talk to your boss and tell him some of the work he's asking you to do doesn't make sense and ask to have it dropped. This only works for more reasonable bosses. If you have people working under you, learn to trust in their ability to get the job done without micromanaging. Not every manager has this issue, but some do, which makes their workload overbearing. Lastly, I'm not saying this applies in your case, but I've seen it in some scenarios. Not everyone is willing to acknowledge this, but the abilities of people are simply different. This guy you're talking about could be underemployed, meaning he has the capability to do much harder, difficult tasks, but opted to stay in this role because he wanted the chill life. I've had direct reports who could bulldoze tasks that was meant to be done in an hour within 15 minutes and still produce better quality work than someone less competent who spent 2 hours on it. The said less competent direct frequently complained about stress and excessive workload. Well, I'm just trying to help them manage their load without making them feel lesser about themselves by telling them that others aren't having the same problem. Hopefully this advice can help some of you navigate your salaried positions and make your life a little bit better. Because I think this is pretty good advice in making sure that you're actually, not finding yourself constantly swamped with work and mastering the ability to, master the salaried position. If your boss wants more out of you, maybe he should pay you more. Secret link wave. Coworker sent to my house by management. For context, I work overnight, so I sleep during the day. I was woken about an hour ago to a coworker at my door asking if I'd be willing to come into work today because a different coworker didn't show. I immediately told him that showing up at my house is not okay and to never do it again. I will discuss working hours with them tomorrow, but tonight is my night off. I'm not coming in. He told me that it was my manager and assistant manager that insisted he show up at my house to ask me in person since I wasn't responding to texts or phone calls. I was surprise, sleeping. 8 phone calls, 2 voicemails, and 4 texts. My coworkers know where I live because I'm a 2-minute drive down the road, and they have been kind enough to drop me off after a shift due to my car breaking down. Blown head gasket, it's a lost cause. So, thankfully, they didn't search up my address in the database and give it out, but still, highly inappropriate. I gotta wonder, is it even legal for coworkers/employees to do that? Either way, it's back to sleep for me. Sure would be funny if either of my 2 coworkers that I know use Reddit saw this, one of which is the assistant that sent my coworker to my house. Considering that OP was woken up during the day to be asked if they could cover the shift, I'm guessing that this is probably a 24-hour establishment, and the person who showed up probably doesn't work the night shift, and therefore doesn't understand what it does to your body and your brain. I don't think this is illegal, but it is most certainly annoying as hell. Honestly, if you really want to get back at them just to be petty, next time you need help on the night shift because someone's not there, go to his house and knock on his door at 2 a.m. and see how he likes it. Wake him up, ring his doorbell, do everything in your power to make his life hell. If he thinks it's okay to wake you up while you're sleeping, despite the fact that you're on the schedule as working nights, then let's see how he feels. Additionally, I also really miss the fact that there's, at least in my area, no more 24-hour grocery stores. That is something that it is like a tragedy that all of those are gone after COVID, because as someone who prefers being a night owl, I miss being able to go to Walmart and actually grab some produce and stuff and just make food at night. But I can't do that anymore. Ugh. Deleted user. How a coworker got let go from the company within a month. I've been working at my corporate job for about 2.5 years when my manager went on maternity leave and left my 2 supervisors in charge as acting managers. While in charge, they hired 2 problematic employees. One was confrontational with colleagues from the start, and the other was very emotional and always crying. I was designated to train these employees in the computer process, protocols, and procedures. While training the emotional one, she began telling her life story in which she randomly asks if I was a diversity hire, and immediately goes into a speech about how she understands that she has privilege, but will use that privilege to help people of color like myself. As if I needed a savior when I'm in a higher position and getting compensated more than her. I calmly advised that I was hired based on my qualifications and educational background. I am also well versed in computer processes, customer relations, and accounts, which is why I'm where I am. I thanked her for her candor and immediately went to HR because yes, I can keep it professional and cute, but to insinuate I was hired for being a person of color? Girl, the audacity! She also made the same kind of comments to other individuals on my team and then cried when coworkers were speaking Spanish because she felt like she was being talked about, in which had to be explained, we assist people in different languages. She then made a false sexual harassment report, in which overheard a coworker talking about his action figure collection and how he was able to obtain a 19-inch one. She immediately insinuated he wasn't talking about a toy, but of himself. He was talking to me and another anime-loving colleague about his new figurine. With that, she was terminated. She heard 19 inches and immediately just assumed, yeah, he's talking about himself. Dude, how do you look at your forearm and go, yeah, that's what he's talking about? Good lord. Also, just, I love the fact that in the process of trying to be like a white savior ally on this part, she was inadvertently just extremely fucking racist, looking at one of her colleagues that was a person of color and being like, oh, you must be the diversity hire. Don't worry, I'll fight for people like you. Like, want to spell out what your intentions are there? Just a little bit more? God, I hate performative activism. Just gets under my skin. It's gross. But I am kind of sad we never got closure on the coworker that was extremely hostile and confrontational to their colleagues. Like, what happened with them? It's a shame we'll never know, but I can only assume based upon the prior descriptions of the people who hired these colleagues, I can't imagine he would be around for much longer. Katy Perry went to space. That's the username. I was unfairly dismissed, so I decided to pair up with the recruitment agency and waste my ex-manager's time. So, I recently lost a job. I was blindsided and had no idea. One of the work colleagues, who I was very good friends with, wrote a Seek review. In the Seek review, he mentioned that he saw many colleagues being unfairly dismissed, especially one in particular who was going through a career change and didn't get the correct training. He mentioned a lot of under-the-table talk was used to get her fired. He was referring to me. I received a phone call from my former boss, apologizing and saying that they made a mistake letting me go. I know they ended up losing 4 employees in the space of 6 weeks after I left. I knew that they desperately needed workers. They offered to take me on as a temporary worker via an agency to do me a favor and help me pay my bills while I study, as they knew I needed the work. I already had a new job, but I went along with it anyway. I let my agency know that I wouldn't work unless it was on my terms, and my terms included having the right to refuse working with the 2 employees that made my life hell. The agency agreed that health and safety comes first, that I can call in sick if I don't feel like I'm entering a safe environment. My previous manager stupidly fell for it and agreed to the terms without reading the fine print. My first day comes, and I call in sick. Me, hello John, I can't make it to work today. Manager, that's okay, why not? Me, is X and Y working? Manager, yes. Me, I don't feel comfortable working around them. Manager, knowing that they were the reason I got let off the first time. Silence. Well, okay then. Take a day off and rest up. This happened for 4 days in a row. Eventually, my ex-manager got mad. He sent a long email to the recruitment agency saying that I was being unprofessional and it's disappointing that I'm letting the team down like this, and that I should know better. He wanted to request a new temp worker. The recruitment agency sent him a copy of the contract he blindly signed and explained that because X and Y made me feel unsafe, I have the right to refuse work with them and not get into trouble. The agency can only do their best to find workers to replace me, but in the event they can't, the team has to do their best with the staff they have. The agency was sure to write notes that they weren't sure if I was fairly dismissed with this employer, as they received no formal warnings or meetings with HR. The agency also had a history of constantly recruiting for this company because of a toxic environment. They were happy to take my side. There was no reply from my manager. The manager finally emailed us back on a Sunday evening and said they understood. For another week, I repeated the same thing, and the agency was allowed to take it easy with finding a temp replacement for their temp worker. It seems like a very small victory for me, but it makes me feel like I have some sort of revenge after they let me go without any formal warnings or meetings with HR, especially as it was 1 week after I had a mortgage approved. In case you're wondering, yes, I am enjoying my new finance role and have passed my probation period. Big fan of professional petty revenge, because that's what this is. You're utilizing professional tools at your fingertips to get an extremely petty revenge to teach them a goddamn lesson. Hey, maybe you should actually go through the proper processes of firing an employee and actually double check the rumors that are being told you by 2 specific employees. What a crazy concept. But no, instead it sounds like these 2 employees have cost this company plenty of money, and hopefully they learn their damn lesson. And maybe the manager should also learn the lesson to not just blindly sign a contract and read through it. Trust me, buddy, that'll get you into a lot of trouble faster than you can count to 1. So hopefully he's learned that lesson. Or not, because honestly, it only benefited OP and punished the company for their shitty practices. Throwaway account Lev. I have a picture of my coworker's sister on my desk. This is more of a funny story than anything else, and I feel the need to clarify that my coworker finds it hilarious. I, 27 female, have a picture of my niece, 6 female, 5 in the picture, at Disney World on my desk at work. We recently switched from remote to in-person, so a lot of us were meeting people we've worked with for years for the first time. My coworker, 31 male, asked me about the picture of my niece. I didn't think much of it until he started giggling. Turns out, the Alice actor in the picture is his sister. I guess it's true what they say, it's a small world after all. God damn it. This actually took a very wholesome and just lovely turn that I was expecting. I knew it was going to be fun, but that's even better. There's a comment from IK Stack below that just kind of adds to the fun. Years ago, I used to have a coworker that kept a framed picture of a cute little girl on his desk. It looked like a typical 3rd grade school photo. People would ask, "Is that cute little girl your daughter?" "No," he would reply. "That's my wife." He kept his wife's 3rd grade picture on his desk for the lulz. Adorable Caitlin responds, "That's the kind of humor that makes an office job bearable. Dude really said, 'I've loved her since she was 8, and made it funny, not creepy. It takes skill." This is a softly on topic, but more of just a fun addition. One of my favorite shitty tattoo ideas is to get your coworker's child tattooed on your arm. So it just says, "Randy's little angel," and just like a really horribly done tattoo of their child. It's something like, how do you respond to that? You just can't. Like, it is a perfect shitty tattoo idea. And it is stuck in my head, and this story just reminded me of it. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.